Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. A lot of times here on the 6M podcast, we talk quite a bit about what looks good, what makes sense, how films fit together, how the story clicks, how characters work and they don't work. I know what you're thinking. Tom, isn't this like an entertainment podcast? Why are you so worried about that? I don't know if I'd say worried. All right. But I always have liked it much better when stuff makes sense. Stuff doesn't always have to make sense, even in entertainment. But man, isn't it better when continuity is observed, when characters, the words that come out of characters' mouths, make sense for those characters? Isn't life just so much more enjoyable for your personal corner of entertainment when everything flows, the plot goes where it should, characters act in character, when things happen, they make sense? Isn't it just a much better viewing experience? Maybe not for everyone, but it is for me. Okay. Well, guess what? All that is completely out the window with this episode, but in the best way. Because this is one of those instances, man, where I'm not getting bent out of shape over anything. And anybody that does watch this film that we're going to review today that gets bent out of shape maybe shouldn't be watching films, because this movie is utterly enjoyable from start to finish. It's nerdy, but it's hip at the same time. It's weird, but it's fun as well. We're talking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World. If you slept on this movie when it first came out, like I did, I'll be honest, I did. Shame on you and me as well, because man, is this a fun film. It's a very, very much a popcorn movie. If you sit there and try to think this thing through and think about characters and plot and nuance, well, I'm going to tell you, you may leave with a massive headache. Not again, in the best way possible. Let's talk about it. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a 2010 romantic action comedy film. When was the last time you heard the words romantic action comedy film? Excellent. Co-written, produced, and directed by Edgar Wright, based on the graphic novel series Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley. Stars an ensemble cast that we'll get in here to today. As we said, directed by Edgar Wright, on a screenplay by Michael Bacall and Edgar Wright. Produced by Eric Gitter, Nira Park, Martin Platt, and Edgar Wright. This film runs for 112 minutes, distributed by Universal Pictures, which plays a role in this film for one of the characters, which is hilarious. But we'll get there. The original release date was July 27, 2010 at the Fantasia Festival. And then in the United States, August 13, 2010. In the United Kingdom, August 25th, 2010. The budget was $60 to $85 million. The box office, not too good, $49.3 million. That is your lowdown for Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Phil, you were on the record as saying that you really enjoy this movie. Number one, is this film in your regular rotation of movies to watch? And number two, in your overall general view, why do you love this film so much?
Not only is this film in my regular rotation, the soundtrack of this movie is in my regular rotation. Um, this movie is incredible. Love everything about it. I think I came about at the right time for this movie to hit with me in my early 20s, fresh out of college, in the era of graphic tees, in the era of guy coming straight out of college trying to figure it out, and being fresh out of a bad relationship. Matter of fact, the first time I ever saw this movie, I went to the movies by myself. I started this thing after I got out of a bad breakup of going to matinees during the day and just going to movies by myself. And I didn't see the trailer for this movie. I didn't see anything. Like I saw very little for this movie, but I was like, oh, it looks cool. I'll go see it. So everything from start to finish in this movie caught me by surprise. Like everything, like this is one of the few movies I've gone into cold, and I absolutely loved it. All the nerd references, all the music references. It also hit me at the right time because I went through like this phase in college where um I got into a lot of classic rock, I got into a lot of different music, and so the music even hit me different. Like it just felt like everything about this movie just hit me at the perfect time.
Well said. I love that. And you're right. I felt that comment about the matinee. And I'm not gonna speak for you, but for me, after a breakup comes the work of I had to find things that just belong to me and that didn't belong to me and her.
Hmm.
So you know what I mean? So like movies became one of those things that okay, I saw this without her, I saw this without her. And then it became just things that were me. Cause Phil, in a relationship, there's no you. It's both of you together. So I can see that
Yes,
distance being
I'm pretty sure every girl I dated after I saw this movie, I tried to convince them to watch this movie.
made. Hmm. Well done. So knowing that you went in cold, the answer for me is no, by the way, here. And I'm a big comic book guy, and I know you are as well. Were you familiar with the title at all? Did you know it was a comic book already going in?
I was familiar with the title. I have never read any of the Scott Pilgrim books. I, of course, have seen them in Barnes and Nobles, and I've seen them in
Mm.
comic book stores, but I've never read the books.
Yeah, same for me. And to be honest, to this day, I haven't. Have you picked anything up since then?
I have not. I've heard that the book is fairly different in some ways, but yeah, I've never read it. No.
Yeah, there's no good reason why I haven't. It's one of those things. I went to a Heroes Con recently in Charlotte, and me and a buddy of mine were talking about things that I just haven't read for whatever reason. Like Cerebus is one that I've just never picked up. I don't know why. Usagi Yojimbo is another character I've never dove into for no particular reason. And it seems like there was a third one. Concrete. I've never dove into Concrete, and I don't have a good reason. So, like, I think Scott Pilgrim's on that list of things that I just have never explored for whatever reason. But watching this movie again after years of not having seen it, and to be honest with you, Phil, as I said before, I never really gave this a chance, but I did dig this, and it's got me thinking I need to go check out some Pilgrim books. So, is this maybe one of your most watched films of all time for you?
I think it's up there. I've seen this movie several times. I can quote bits of it back to finish. It's just one of my favorite movies,
Mm.
man. There's parts of it that I analyze to death. Like, um, I'm just like, I don't know, have like it's just nerdy things that I think about it. Like, have you guys noticed this? Have you guys noticed that? Like, have you picked up on the fact that all of the early ex boyfriends that he fights in the movie are kind of like um they're kind of analogs for other movies. Like this movie is seen as this quirky like indie movie going against
Right.
like uh the big action movie starring Chris Evans' character, and then of course the
Yes.
big superhero movie and Brendan Routh's character, and even like the first ex he fought is a representative of Bollywood movies.
Well done. Well done. I don't know if I put that together, but Evans with his voice when he talks. It's so good. Oh my god. So good. Captain America himself in this film. Holy Lord. And Captain Marvel as well in this movie,
Yeah,
which is
and
nuts.
Punisher is also in this movie.
Punisher's
Thomas Jane.
here. For a weird little cameo that doesn't last very long and ends in a high five, which is
Not even
beyond funny
credited.
to me. Right. It's beyond funny to me. God, there's so much good stuff here. And I stick to what I said, man. This is very much a popcorn film. I just halfway through this in my head, I can envision people tapping away on their keyboards or on their phone keyboards saying things like, well, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't look right. And this, well, that doesn't fit. And come on, he can't, suddenly he knows how to fight. How does he know how to fight? And I'm like, I can already hear it without reading anything at all. But like,
Well,
man, this is just supposed to be fun?
Well, every time I've shown people that don't know this is a comic book movie, and just like they know nothing about the source material, know nothing about the movie at all. Every time I've shown them the movie, there's a distinct split in the movie changing. Um, and so for the first, like, I don't know, about 20, 30 minutes of this movie, it just feels like a regular rom com. It has all of the makings of a regular rom com. And then when you get to their first gig and the first fight with the first ex, it immediately changes. And you can see that Anna Kendrick's character is basically like everybody in the audience, like, what? What's happening right now? Like, what? And I feel like that's like the perfect shift of when this movie becomes more of like the action comic book stuff.
I'd forgotten how much I like her. I really, really like her. She's so good in this, and we don't see a whole lot of her. But man, she's like the common sense aspect of this film too, to some degree. Because like he calls her and he says it's Scott. She goes, "What did he do this time?" And he goes, "No, no, it's me. It's Scott." She goes, "Oh, what did you do this time?" Which is awesome. So yeah, so Anna Kendrick is again. I just forgotten how much I really like her. There's so many great people in this cast, dude. People who I don't know if I could say that they're getting their start, but I'm sure that's the case for some of these folks. But I don't remember seeing any like grizzled veteran actors in this film, dude. It's all young people. I mean, there's something to be said for a film that's fun, got really good music. You know, the action scenes and everything are pretty sweet. And then you've also got a cast that is mostly like a younger cast. You know, we said at the beginning of this movie didn't exactly make any money, like lost quite a bit. All right. But in terms of reviews, it got good reviews from fans and critics as well. So I don't know if they would ever revisit this at any point, but man, it's like the critics and the fans spoke, but not enough people went to see it. I don't know. I don't know. Did you remember at the time hearing that the movie had tanked or anything like that? Because I'm going back in my head. I don't remember if I remember hearing anything like that at the time.
I don't remember hearing how well it did. Again, I was just in my bubble of, like I said, I discovered that this movie at the time, and I just loved it, no matter what anybody thought of it. And I feel like that's kind of the movie that this is. It's one of those movies that's it's a cult classic, regardless of like if it made a lot of money. I don't think a lot of people that like it think about that at all.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. It is a cult classic too, man. I'm telling you, I really enjoy this, and I know we're just getting started here. I just don't know how this doesn't have life today, because man, I was watching this back and I was thinking if this was released today, like right now, I mean, there's such a thing as comic book film fatigue, depending on who you ask, right? The whole Marvel thing, I get it. I mean, do you think there'd be any better response in terms of numbers at the box office if this thing were released right now? Because I think this film more than holds up. There's a few things we'll get to, right? But I think
Um,
it holds up, and honestly, I think it maybe be better received now. Maybe
Maybe, but I also think that it kind of came at the right time in terms of like uh all of the stuff that came afterwards. Like I think it it fitted that time period. Not just the music, just everything around the culture of this movie. It just kind of came at the right time. Like even Michael Cera, when you think of like the run of hits he was on up to 2010, like he was kind of like the guy for some at one point for doing all of the rom coms or like comedy movies because he had Superbad came out in eight, oh eight, I think.
I think that's right.
Um, but regardless of when it came out, I believe that like he had this stretch from like I don't know, man. Like if matter of fact, I'm wrong. 2007 came out
2007.
2007. Then it was Juno. Then it was Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. He had like a stretch of big hits, and it felt like this was like the perfect time for him to do a movie like this.
Yeah, we covered super bad as well, kids. It's in the archives. Check it out. Michael Cera is just one of those guys, man. Like you'd have to. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and assume to know what he has and hasn't auditioned for over the years. But I don't know if he auditions for Peter Parker. I don't know if he auditions for Fast and Furious. You know what I mean? Like it kind of feels like he has a lane that he stays in, and that lane he's very, very good at what he does. But like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can envision him auditioning for something that Johnny Depp would audition for. So,
Yeah.
but that's not to say that he can't do it, because man, he's so funny at the same time.
But see, I love that that's so ingrained in this movie that he's like this Canadian guy
Yeah.
that you wouldn't expect to be like a lead actor in a movie like this. And he is a lead star. He is the guy, and he shows like all of his insecurities and flaws as a character. But I think that's also like, I don't know, it's kind of the quirk of this movie. Like I said, the movie itself is so Canadian.
God, it so is. Yeah. And it should be noted here, kids, that that Michael Cera is the only one that they wanted for this role. That was it. And supposedly after I think it was the director saw Arrested Development. Well, he's the only one that Michael Cera is the only one that he wanted. So it makes sense.
He's perfect. I mean,
He is.
he is perfect in every way as a lead man in this movie, going against all of these guys and that are kind of like that are big that go on to do bigger things than him. Because I mean, like I said, we're talking about Chris Evans and we're talking about other guys that are like have been stars of like massive projects. Well, not all the exes, but still, just the fact that he's like this guy that is going for a girl that he feels is out of his league, and again going against all these guys. Like, wait, you dated him?
Right. Right. For
Yeah,
sure.
I just think it works. He's just so good at doing like the anxious, nervous character, and but he brings so much like heart to it. Like he does so many things that are dumb or considered bad, but then he'll give like this throwaway line right afterwards, and it's like, no, this guy's great. He's a great. He's just such a lovable loser in this movie.
God. He's like you said, he's perfect. If when you're not if you're not expecting it, if you've never seen it, and he gets the first ex-boyfriend that is coming down to him like on stage, and then suddenly he just throws his bass and then punches the guy straight in the face. You're like, oh, he can fight as well. Where did that come from? Like that's just it makes it so much more fun, because like you said, he's anxious, he's neurotic a bit, and he's nervous all the time, and but then suddenly he can fight. He's kind of a douche in this movie as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a perfect analog for a lot of nerdy guys that are kind of been beaten up by life.
Yeah.
And so they are so used to being uh the victim that they don't really understand when they victimize other people. And I feel like that's kind of the story here in a lot of ways. The thing that I love about the first fight is that he does throw his base and he finally throws the punch. But it's after Wallace goes, fight, and he's like, oh yeah.
Right. Right. As if he just, yeah, he's ready for a fight, but someone has to tell him what's happening. And I love it because he stops and he says, did you not get my email? Like suddenly everything stops. It's so good.
Yeah,
Well, I may have glazed over it.
but that's what I'm saying. Everything about this time period. I mean, the fact that Ramona is an Amazon delivery girl, and like this is like just when Amazon was like blowing up at the time. Like we're now in a time period where people cannot even fathom their lives without Amazon. Like
Hmm.
and like yeah, just the fact that it was just at the cutting edge of all of these things happening at once, man.
Yeah. And plus, like most everyone has a flip phone. I think that everyone has a flip phone in this movie.
Yeah, flip phones. The fact that the way he answered the email, like I can't even imagine somebody only being able to contact me through email right now. Like what?
Right. It's one of the last things I check during the course of my day. It's one of the last things I check. Like my business email, yes, I'm on top of that. But personal email,
Yeah,
sometimes I forget it's there, dude.
exactly. Um, yeah, can't think of this last time that I used email for like just solely personal use.
Yeah. So the plot here, kids, pretty simple. So you've got this kid, and he's 22-year-old Scott Pilgrim. He starts dating a girl a little bit younger than him. She's only 17 and she's still in high school. But he then falls for someone else because he saw her in a dream. And this someone else, unfortunately for him, has 7 deadly ex boyfriends that all want to fight him. And they're all organized by an ex boyfriend as well, and it's all very weird. But man, in some weird way, it works. We talked about Michael Cera, and he is, like we said, perfect in this. He absolutely is. Which still to this day, even though the studio lost all that money, I can't believe this thing hasn't gotten life
I think
either as
well,
a streamer or as something else, man.
well, I mean, I do think it does have life. I of course don't have the numbers to back this up. I would imagine that this movie streams pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, like it was on Netflix for a long time, um, and then it got taken down. I think now you can watch on Amazon Prime,
It
but
is on Amazon.
it used to be on Netflix, and um, there's still things like them like doing reshowings at theaters sometimes. I still see that pop up every now and then that they're just like randomly showing Scott Pilgrim at some random theater like Draft House or something.
Oh wow, yeah. And by the way, isn't it funny? It ended up on Amazon. That's kind of funny.
Yes.
So, but yeah, he's perfect. Listen. Let's run down this cast, Phil. This should only take an hour and a half to run down the cast. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Ramona Flowers. She is all kinds of perfect here, man. She is. I mean, she's equal parts mysterious and intriguing, yet she's a little aloof at times. She's not interested in him at all, but I think he kind of charms his way in. She likes him in spite of herself, I would think. What do you think about her? And by the way, in the film, she's from North Carolina. She is from North Carolina for reals, from Rocky Mount, North Carolina. What do you think about Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona?
um, I think she's such a great she's such a great person for Scott to play off in this movie because a lot of things she just kind of stares off at him when he does like when she's like yeah can't eat a lot of bread, it's gonna make you fat, and he's like what, bread makes you fat, and she just kind of his comedic timing just works perfectly with her being just straight person with him in all of these scenes. Even when he plays her the song and she's like yeah, can't wait till you finish it, and he's like finish it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I just think she does it perfectly. I mean, even the first scene we see them in together when they're at that party, and he's trying to do the Pac-Man story that he impressed Knives with earlier, and he's completely fumbling through it, and she's just staring at him like, "What are you doing?" Like, and she couldn't be any more uninterested, and just the facial expressions are just perfect, and she just still like she has this way of not just with her facial expressions, but just with her body language several times in this movie, just doing a lot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. She's absolutely the greatest fool for him in terms of love interest because again, she's out of reach enough, but not so out of reach that she doesn't fall for him ultimately. Uh, and we can get there toward the end here of who was the correct decision made in the end of the movie because there was some controversy about that at the time as well. Because I got thoughts on that. But no, I'm with you. She's excellent here, and man, has she done a lot of stuff, dude. She was in, let's see, she was in the 2011 in The Thing. She was Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is such a fun, stupid movie, but I can't help but like it. She was in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Hmm.
She was um, she was John McClane's daughter in a Die Hard film, A Good Day to Die Hard, 2013. She's
She's
done
in
a bunch of stuff, man.
she's in the Birds of Prey movie, right?
She is. You're
She was
right.
a huntress.
Yeah. We don't talk about that. Uh, what? So, by the way, did you? I don't know if I ever even watched that film. Did you check it out?
Yeah, I watched it. It's a fun movie. I think it's a bit overhyped. It's one of those movies where it's kind of become a cult classic of its own. Where I think
Mm.
people that are fans of Margot Robbie of as Harley and are fans of like this collection of eyeball talent, they really like it. And there are things that I do like about it, but at the same time, like that depiction of Cassidy is just not for me, man. Like, oh my god, I just
Mm.
to take that Batgirl that is so cool in the comics and do that with her in that movie, I just don't like it,
Oh
man.
wow.
If people don't know, I'm talking about Cassandra in the movie. I just don't like Cassandra Like
Yeah.
she just is so different than the character in the book that it just throws me off every time. But it's not a bad movie. It's a fun movie. There are things to like about it. Um, but I don't know. You've never seen it at all?
I have not seen it. No, I know that. Well, Ewan McGregor's in it, right? Isn't he the
Yeah, he's the
villain?
main bad guy.
Yeah. I have never checked it out. I did catch some of the show, Birds of Prey. Yeah.
Which one? There's more than one, right?
Is there? There
Isn't
is.
wasn't there like the old one that was the initial like CW show before like the CW boom happened? And then there's another one, isn't there?
I think you're right. I think I remember the first run. Yeah. I remember the first run. Yeah, it's you know, eh. I remember the first run of that show being a lot of posing and wind blowing through the hair. That kind of thing. But yeah. So anyway, we don't have to get off on that. But no, I find it interesting that the whole cult classic thing is in play there as well. So, like we said, she's really good here, and she is the love interest that kind of comes out of nowhere. I got to be honest with you though, man. When we see him with knives, she, and by she I mean Ellen Wong, plays Knives. So Knives is the 17-year-old girl that he's dating, and everyone's giving him crap about it because he's 22 and she's 17. Dude, she is the cutest thing ever. And she's awesome and she's fun and they have fun together. And I'm like, this is the girl he should be with. There's no doubt in my mind. This is who he should have ended up with. What do you think about Ellen Wong as Knives?
I like Ellen Wong a lot. I after I saw this movie, I had this odd feeling, and I had to go look it up because she's 17 in the movie, and I was like, she's 17 in real life. Am I like super attracted to this chick that's 17? No, great.
Now I don't feel so bad.
Great. Very pretty girl. She's great in this movie. She's so fun in this movie. As the love interest, as the jealous girl afterwards, as like comedic side character. She does so many things in this movie that are funny. Like her entire interactions when they're in there talking envy, so funny.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, her showing up towards the end, in the big boss fight is funny to me every time. I That is one of those things that I quote from this movie all the time. It's time to chow down. I The only matter of fact, the only Funko Pop that I have from this movie is a Knives Chow Funko Pop. Um,
Nice.
Big fan of Ellen Wong in this movie. And I don't know if I would say they belong together. I just think that she fits this perfect idea of a rebound girl, right? Because she's easy. Like she's easy to talk to. She's not going to
Mm.
challenge him on anything. She's just fun. She's just fun to hang out with. She's not going to, pressure him to be anything, right? She's not gonna because she's still in high school. She's still impressionable. She's still malleable. She's not gonna pressure him to grow up or mature. And so she's kind of a perfect rebound girl for him. But that's not what he needs in the long run.
Hmm. I don't know. I'm just impartial, or I'm partial toward her. I can't help it because she's
Yeah,
just so
because
awesome.
she's so lovable and people want to like
Yeah.
her. And I mean, it's just so many things about her. Like, but that's why I'm like, it's the self prophecy of Wallace at the beginning of the movie when he meets her. Like, You're too good for him, Ryan."
Right? Yeah. 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 If you forget that moment, he warned her. If she had listened, the movie doesn't happen. So,
Yeah,
oh, that's good. That's
yeah.
good.
But in reality, she's too good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. I love how she passes out when she's when they start playing, and when she hears them playing, sees them playing for the first time. She's like completely blown away because he tells Scott, he says, "I want her to geek out over us."
Yeah, I absolutely love the presentation of this movie. Are you kidding me? The way that it starts with the kind of the not even opening credits, it just gives you kind of like the start of the premise of the movie that he's dating a high school girl, and we get all this stuff of him introducing her, um, kind of introducing the audience to his friends group. And then when they play the first time, then we get the beginning credits, and it's just such a cool way to open the movie.
Oh, it's so good. You're 100% right. Yeah, it's the way it's shot. There's video game fight scenes going on. When the bad guy gets punched hard enough, he explodes into tokens, he explodes into coins,
Yeah.
and you
Uh,
can hear the video game sounds. It's great, man.
I love everything about the fact that Scott Pilgrim is kind of like in this player one situation as this character in this movie. That's kind of like a character going through a video game. It's so influential, and it's this new way of doing a movie. I've never seen anything like it, and so again, me sitting there in the theater, I was just like utterly amazed by all of this. But just everything, the P bar,
Yeah.
just the stuff like his inner turmoil, like him having these like when he's sitting there at the bar and he's trying to answer a question and it's going through this pick of which to pick, and he kind of it falls in the middle, and so he completely fumbles it. I think it's
Right.
choosing between who, her, and I have to pee, and he goes, I have to pee on her.
Yeah. Oh, it's messed up. Yeah, it's like in his brain, he's got these pre-programmed answers he gives in every situation,
Yeah,
usually to get out of having to answer.
yeah, it's so great, man. So many things. I mean, Bill Hader is the narrator here. Every time he interjects something in, it's hilarious.
And I had no idea it was him. He's very good at this.
It's so good. Yeah, we kind of went our separate ways. They didn't. It was a breakup. It was brutal.
Right. Oh man, it's good. So let's talk. You mentioned Wallace. This is Kieran Culkin as Wallace, the lesser known of the Culkins, perhaps. But man, is he good. Man, is he talented. I love this guy to death. He's great. And he is Scott's roommate. And they sleep in the same bed, the same blow up mattress, I guess, looks like.
Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you.
If Wallace has a boyfriend over, then they all three sleep next to each other, and it's just like completely normal, and everything's fine. There's nothing weird happening. Dude, he's hilarious in this movie, man.
Yeah, he steals almost every scene he's in.
Yeah.
He is so incredibly funny in this movie. Um, yeah, I mean, from the second we see him, just so funny. There are so many interactions he has with Scott that I feel like make this movie. Um, when Scott walks in like Kramer and it has the Seinfeld music and like the audience laughter behind it. I laugh at that every time. Are you kidding me? When he answers the door for knives and he's like trying to go like, no, he's not here. You can see him running away in the background and then jumping out the window.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so good. And then he reaches back in to get his jacket.
Yes. But yeah, just his him being the voice of reason for Scott, but also doing all these things in the background, like every time he tells him something, and he's like, "Don't tell anybody," and like he's like immediately on his phone texting his sister.
Oh my god, it's so good.
He comes in drunk and he's like talking to him, and all of a sudden his sister calls and he looks down and he has his phone in his hand.
Yeah, like he's Scott's friend, but at the same time, he just messes with him so much, and then drops a bomb on that he's going to ask him to move out, or he needs him to move out, or whatever, out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. Again, the way that they shoot everything when we first see that inside the apartment, and then it has like that as that graphic showing everything Wallace is in the house and
Mhm.
like the few things that are Scott's.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, he's
So funny. But yeah, Wallace is incredible in this movie. I mean, he has so many memorable lines when he's trying to convince him to break up with Knives, and meanwhile he is cheating on his own boyfriend with this guy that comes walking through, and he's pointing. He's like, double standards, and he was like, nope, nope, take it up with Liberace's goats.
Yeah. And then he hooks up with that guy later at that bar where they're playing because he's got a thing for a guy with glasses on for some reason.
Yeah, he. It is like an ongoing joke that he steals more than one of Scott's sister's boyfriends or love interests,
Right.
and so he steals this guy as well. But that's of course not his boyfriend. His other boyfriend, other Scott.
Other Scott, yeah. And she's in the background. She goes, no, not again. Like, right? Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Wallace is great, and I mean, when you see this guy, immediately, you're like, this guy is probably related to Macaulay Culkin. Looks a lot like him.
Yeah.
Looks just like him, just with dark hair. But man, he is incredible in this movie. Like I said, he steals so many scenes he's in.
God, he really does. He's excellent here for sure. Let's see. We've already mentioned one of the big bads here. We'll talk about him. Captain America himself, Lucas Lee, played by Chris Evans. What's great is when he comes out of that trailer, you hear the dun, 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 for the signature of the studio, which is freaking great for Universal Pictures. And then he clicks his head from side to side for the dun dun. Like that just sets the tone for who this it's like a weird Vin Diesel, I think I can act kind of thing, and he's a tough guy, but he used to be a skater. Like, dude, he's so good in this movie. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the Universal theme, we also get the very video game version of Universal when the movie starts.
That's right. Yeah.
So cool. But yeah, no, he's he's so good in this movie. I think people forget before he was doing any of the Captain America stuff, before Snowpiercer, any of that stuff. This guy was doing a lot of comedy,
Mm.
and he's right at home doing a comedy in this movie, hamming it up as like this dude, bro, action star, skateboarder guy, and he's great, man. His comedic timing is just perfect, perfect. when when Scott is getting beat up by a stuntman, which is it's such a great gag.
God, it is. There's a couple of them way shorter than him too. Did you see that?
Yes, none of them look like him at all.
No.
It's such a great gag that they have to fight. He has to fight his stuntman too. But when they're jumping him and they're like around him, stomping him out, he's like, "Hey, you guys want any coffee?" And the one guy turns around. He's like, "No, no." He's still stomping him. He's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm good."
Well, I love that shot too because it's one long shot where the camera follows him to get coffee, and the camera stops and the camera goes back because you hear Scott say, "Lucas Lee, you're needed on set." It was so good.
So good. Everything about that whole aspect of it, like him fighting every single stuntman, and like they're like breaking the skateboards on him, and he's like having this like he's like having this big long fight scene with him, and he's just like, "Oh, well, you guys handle it."
Oh, that's great. Yeah, he barely touches him. I don't think. I mean, yeah, he barely touches him, and then he sets him up for that trick down the rail on his skateboard, and I guess he just explodes because he goes too fast. Is that what we're led to believe here?
Yeah, he crashes out after the grind. It's a real steep hill he's going down in the middle of winter.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, there's so many great things about him in this movie. Him getting a punch in and getting that cheesy action one-liner in, and then he blows on his fist, and the guy comes in and sprays it for him.
Yeah.
He's given a line when they first walk up, and he's like, "No, I'm talking to you, Scott Pilgrim."
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, because I don't see that coming. That comes from out of nowhere. He's talking to him the whole time, which is really good. I mean, not for nothing. Chris Evans is pretty dreamy. We know that. I
Yes,
mean, and didn't Ramona say it was like ninth grade boyfriend? I think she said it was.
yes, calls him
Yeah.
Snot Nose.
Yes. He's like, but he's famous. Like he can't get over that.
Yeah, he walks up and punches them. He's like, "Hey, can I have your bow?" And he's like, "Can I have your autograph?"
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie does this thing several times where there is a inside joke in the movie that is referenced again later, or there's foreshadowing to something there's a callback later, and it's just so excellently done every time. Like, there are conversations in the movie where, um, like for example, when Scott's talking to Knives after they're playing that game that's basically Dance Dance Revolution, but it has like that
Mm.
ninja, um, it's like whatever, it's like this ninja mashup with Dance Dance Revolution, and she's like, "Don't beat yourself up," and he's like, "Yeah," and it's like it's a whole tie-in to him trying to break up with her but not doing it, but it's also like this double entendre of them talking about the video game.
Mm.
They do that several times in this movie, and it's just done so well. It's just such a well-written movie.
It is. Yeah, the way things fit together for sure. And by the way, we got to mention that Michael Cera is playing a Rickenbacker bass, which is really nice. And I love how by the end of the movie he's got the thing duct taped up because it's seen better days.
Yes, and it plays into everything his character is. He is the unsung hero of his band because
Mm,
he's the bass player, and the bass
that's
player
right.
is the unsung hero of the band. And his his role in the band is hilarious because he's also um, kind of dumping on the other unsung hero of their friend group in Neo, who is also a bass player.
Mm. Yeah, well done. Yeah. And Scott eventually leaves the band in the end.
He
He's
had
no
to
longer a member of the was it Bob Om? Bob
Sex
Om?
Bomb,
Sex Bob Om. That's it.
which I don't know if you know, Bomb is also a video game reference.
Oh, well done. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a video game.
Nice. So, speaking of video game, anime, that kind of thing, Edgar Wright evidently encouraged the actors to not blink during takes to give it the feel of anime. Now, once you know that and then go watch it again, you'll see that hardly anyone's blinking.
Yeah. Yes, and you could tell. For people that are wondering what is a bomb, I'm sorry I didn't really explain it. Bomb is a Mario reference. It's the little bomb with the wind up behind it that walks around.
Oh, I never knew that thing had a name.
Yep.
Interesting. I really like that. Yeah. So,
Yeah. If you
speaking
look
of,
at
go ahead.
if you look at their logo on their drum kit, it's a bomb.
Oh my God, is it? Now I have to go back and look. I've got
Yeah.
the movie playing as we speak.
Yeah. They show like their logo and it's a bomb several times in the movie.
I like how for the one band, the bass drum says drum on it.
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
good.
I also love how when they introduce you to all of the members of the band, they show their name and they show like a like factoid next to them and
Yeah.
like a little stat like average.
Yeah, that's really good. That let's see, speaking of the other members of the band, we got to mention Allison Pill is the drummer of this band. Uh she plays Kim Pine. And what I love, Phil, is that there's a backstory with her and Scott, and we don't know what it is. And he just blows it off as if it was nothing. But you can tell she really hates his guts, man. Like she's on him the whole film. She's a smart mouth. She's very funny, but she's always got something to say. And you're like, man, what did he do to her? You know what I mean? I love we don't really find out to the very end when he comes clean and apologizes to her for the way he was.
Well, we get explanation like midway through the movie, um, but I love that not only is she like a lot of these characters that are in his friend group that kind of bash on him because he just won't get his stuff together.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that she's just kind of hanged around, and I think you could tell that she legitimately cares about him, but you could tell that she has like this conceit for him based off of so many other things.
Sure.
Um, it's weird because she is kind of like where Scott is in a lot of ways. Like if you look at it, like he is her envy. Like he broke up with her and made her that way.
Ooh, well done. Yeah.
But yeah, she's so great in this role. She's so great at giving like the almost like the Jeffrey lines, I'll call it, of coming in and giving like the smart aleck response to so many things. Or you can see her in the background of something doing that gun to the head thing. Um,
Right.
it's just so funny every time I see it. She does it several times. But in some ways, she just has like this. I don't want to say like this glue in a lot of scenes, man. Like I get hyped every time I watch the final scene and he comes in the second time and fights the boss and he apologizes to her and she jumps out of her seat and says, "We are Sex Bomb and we are here to watch Scott Pilgrim kick your teeth in. One,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4."
Yeah, she gets to count it off every time. That's really good. I like that.
Yeah, she's great. All of her countouts have like this different characteristic to it. Like we are Sex Bomb and we are here to sell out and do sad stuff. One,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. And she's doing the middle finger the whole time she's doing it. So great, man. She is great in this movie. And again, she's another one that has like this great comedic timing because um, you'll just see her in the background doing something, and it's just so. It's such a small thing that, like, if you're not paying attention, and then when you do, it's just so funny. Like, when they cut to her when he and Ramona are talking about exes, and she's like, "What about Kim?" And he's explaining Kim, and you can see Kim just sitting there with like this glazed look on her face, staring off into space.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. She's a busy actress too, man. She's done American Horror Story. She does
Hmm.
Star Trek Picard. She was in Hail Caesar, Midnight in Paris. She's done a lot of stuff, man.
She was co-star with Lindsay Lohan in that Disney movie. Which one is it that I'm drinking of? Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen.
Yeah, that's it. 2004. Yeah.
Yep.
She's busy, man, for sure. We mentioned Envy, Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, who is, I mean, she's younger here, obviously. Dude, she's almost unrecognizable with that hair and everything and her voice. Like, I, ca- I kind of had to do a double take and say, wait, that is her, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, it kind of not freaked me out, but like knowing Brie now as who we know her as, and then going back and watch this, like, man, it's night and day. So she is the ex. And man, we've all got one. We've all got that one ex that to this day, no matter how much we may be over it, okay, uh, in the back, some dark corner of our subconscious, we're like, yeah, but man, if things have been different, right? So that's who she is for Scott, and she's the lead singer of this other band, and it's a what is it? Clash at the what is it? What are they called?
Clash and Demon Head,
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
or as Nias called him, TCAD.
Yes. So Brie Larson as Natalie V or Envy Adams. We kind of hear about her before we see her, and then once we see her, it's on from that point. What do you think about her here?
Um, she's great in the little bits that we see. I love that she actually does the vocals over Black Sheep. Black Sheep is one of the best songs in this movie. One of the best
Right.
songs on the soundtrack. Of course, um, the Metrics version of it is great, but I love that Brie does the vocals for it, and she sounds great. Um, but I also love just the way she plays the role here. She does like this over the top, almost like soap opera esque style. Like everything is just so accentuated. Everything has like this pause, and like everything is just so incredibly extra. It's great.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Everything fits, man. Everything fits for sure. That song that they do on stage is great, actually. I really, really like that a lot. That's good stuff. Uh, as a music guy, as I know you are, I mean, it's cool to see the live bands happening in this movie. That's pretty sweet. I think it just adds to the aesthetic of the whole thing.
So yeah, she's great. Envy's a great name, by the way. Love that. Um, Aubrey Plaza is another lady in this movie as Julie Powers. She is great. If anyone's ever seen Legion, she's excellent in Legion. She's so good. And of course, she was in Parks and Rec. She's done several other things over the years. Dude, she is like when she starts cursing and the censor box pops up over her mouth. And at one point, Scott's like, "How are you doing that?" I love that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. But again, it's just everything was just so perfect for that time period. We're gonna look at this movie one day as like this weird time capsule of the early 2000s. Like the fact that she works at a coffee shop of all places, and
Yeah.
has like more than one job. Doesn't she work at the CD place as well? Yeah, because Scott goes, "How do you have so many jobs?" And she's like, "Don't worry about it. You wouldn't know anything about this."
Yeah.
Um,
She does seem to be all over the place.
yeah, she's so funny. She just tears into him every time, and she is just so perfect. Um, yeah, she's great. Just the way she delivers so many lines in this movie are just it's perfect.
Yeah, she's great. Um, another someone man, I'm seeing a trend here, Phil, about how all these actors are still really busy.
Mhm.
But again, they were all like 12 when this movie was filmed. Well, not really. But like, they were all on the young side, right? So they've had all these years you know, to really get themselves out there. Man, they're all very busy folks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, seeing him in other things after this movie, and that's why again it was just like this movie came at this time period where all of these guys were either like trending upwards or just starting to begin their careers.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
well, I can't say that for all of them, but they were just in a it was just such a weird time period, man, where it just felt like not just like I said, this was on the cutting edge of all of these things happening culturally, but for them as actors and actresses. Because I mean, Ellen Wong has been in a few things. I know she was in Glow. Of
Hmm.
course, you said Aubrey Plaza has been in a ton of things since then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we've got two superheroes we mentioned. Let's talk about a third and a fourth in the same person because not only is he Superman, he's also the Atom. Brandon Routh is here as Todd Ingram, who has vegan powers, which is great. Dude, when he punches knives, it is breathtaking. Like, especially by today's standards. But like even then, I would imagine it would have been breathtaking. He has that line where he's like, "What does he say? I'm not afraid to punch a girl." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm not afraid to punch a girl. You're incorrigible.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that means.
yeah,
He really
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. Oh my god.
No, he's he does perfect here. Doesn't take any of this too seriously, and it works great because of that. Um, there's so many things that he does in the scenes that he's in. We don't see a whole bunch of him in this movie, but the scenes that he's in, he just he just steals them with the way, not just the way he delivers the lines, but just kind of this aloofness to him, just like what, like he's a total himbo character here. It's great. Um, of course, he has the line, "Tell it to the cleaning lady on Monday."
Yeah, and it takes like 3 minutes for him to get through it.
Yeah, tell it to the cleaning lady on Monday. And this guy's like, "What?" And then he tries to explain it. He tried to go back and explain like what he means by it, and he's confused himself by the end of it.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, no, he just does so many lines there that I think it's the way he delivers it that makes it even funnier. Like when they start the bass battle, which is awesome. Uh, when they start the bass battle, he's like, "Yeah, somebody wants to get funky."
Because he looks to be unbeatable. Of course, he's Superman, Phil. What were we thinking?
Of
But like,
course.
I'm thinking, man, he's not going to be able to take this guy out. What's he going to do here?
Yeah, of course, but again, that's part of the appeal of not just Scott Pilgrim's journey, but kind of this movie of putting this like Canadian indie guy that has done all of these comedy movies up to this point up against a guy that's played literally Superman. it's just,
Right.
it is just such a great juxtaposition of both of them on screen together. Um, but yeah, just everything about his scenes, the way that he loses, it's all very, very funny.
Oh, it's great. He actually had half and half in his coffee, which that was the third strike because Thomas Jane and someone else shows up as these cops who bust him. These vegan cops, I guess.
Yeah, I love that they show up with the vegan badges. I mean, even his backstory of he went away to vegan academy. That's why she broke up with him.
Mm. Right. Yeah. Clifton Collins Jr. is the other cop.
Yes, and they show up and they don't have guns. They're just pointing their fingers at him.
Yeah, and their fingers have like lasers on them or something.
Yes. But he's just like, this is only my first offense. He's like, nope. Reason is right. And he's like, nope. Gelato. He's like, gelato's not vegan. Chicken. Milk and eggs, bitch.
Yeah. He's like, chicken parm? Yeah.
Chicken isn't vegan?
Yeah. Can't really tell if he's being honest or if he really is that stupid.
Yes. No, him trying to say chicken isn't vegan and this big shocked face on Envy's face, where she's just like, what?
Oh, so good.
Uh,
Yeah, I like him a lot here, man. He's awesome. Man, we talked about Brandon Routh a couple different times on this show. I mean, we did Superman Returns in the Archives, kids. Of course, go check it out.
overhated in that movie. I think that the guy is underappreciated in a lot of ways as an actor. I hate that he got so much hate for a lot of things that wasn't really his fault.
Oh, 100% agree. I mean, how's he viewed now? Has a lot of that's led up, hasn't it? He's so good.
I think amongst fans that it has. I mean, just because he's done this movie, he's done the stuff with CW, like you say, done to Adam. He got a chance to play Superman again. So I think a lot of it among fans has died down.
Yeah. I love when Scott sits down and he says he tells them that he dumped Knives and they're all really surprised. He says, "Where's Knives? Not coming tonight?" He says, "No, we broke up." And then he immediately goes, "Hey, check it out! I learned the bass line of Final Fantasy." He starts playing, and she's like,
Yes.
"Scott, you're the salt of the earth." He goes, "Thanks." And then she like calls him a scumbag. She says, "I meant scum of the earth." He goes, "Thanks." Like he wasn't even phased at all.
Yeah, he does that a few times where he'll do something awful and then other people around him are like, yeah, that kind of sucked. And he's just like, eh. And he's already moved on to the next thing. Like he's already so excited that he learned this bass line. He's not even paying attention to anybody's reactions around him. Um, the the way he breaks up with Knives is the same way because he has this moment where you could tell he legitimately felt bad. Um, and the way it is shot is just so great. Of her just standing there in the dark, like oh, and then it cuts back to him in the dark, and then he just kind of like slinks off screen.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
Oh man, he's sitting on the bus thinking about it. He's upset about it, and then he's just like, well, still dating Ramona.
Yeah. And like when Ramona changes her hair color and he's like speechless, you're like, dude, he's not going to dump her, is he? Because of the hair?
No, it's just that he's so insecure with himself. He's not secure with himself, and so the fact that she is so secure with herself is off putting to him.
Yeah,
I
very
thought
true.
that was the whole point that they were trying to make with that. But all of the stuff with his hair and how anytime somebody mentions his hair, you cut back to him, he has the hat on. It gets me every time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because like the last big breakup he had was Envy. And like, what was it? It was like hours after his haircut that she dumped him.
Yes, the whole explanation about the haircut and everything is funny. But also, just like the second she says anything about his hair, he jumps out of his seat and like is trying to like cover it with his hands.
Yeah, and like from that point on, all of his haircuts were homemade or homemade haircuts.
Yes.
Man alive. Not good. That explains a lot when you see his hair. You're like, God, what's happened to him? What happened to this guy?
Yeah, I mean, he clearly does not care a lot about his upkeep. He wears a bunch of the same like graphic tees throughout the movie.
Mhm.
We literally see this guy walk into the apartment with a graphic tee in, goes in behind the door, comes out with another one, and that's basically just him changing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wears his winter coat with the X-Men patch on it.
Ah, well done. Yeah, good catch. Good catch. So the rest of the band is Johnny Simmons plays young Neil Nord- Nordgriff, which I don't know if we ever get told why he's called young Neil instead of just Neil. And
Um,
then we got Mark Webber as Steven Stills, who's the lead singer.
well, he calls him Young Neo because he is the youngest out of their friend group because he's 20, I believe.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
And then on top of that, he is like he's kind of like the runner up for bass player. He just
Right.
kind of stands in when Scott's there. He doesn't really have an official spot, and so that's why at the end of the movie when he's out of the band and he's like, "You guys are great without me," and he finally acknowledges Neil and calls him, "You're not young Neil anymore. You're just Neil."
Yeah, it's great when he finds himself in the end. What a great way to put a bow on it. Like for Scott to come full circle and realize, man, I've been kind of effing things up for a while, and I'm going to start taking responsibility.
Yeah. And Neil, again, there's so many things that I connect with in this movie. Neil in itself, the fact that his name sounds very similar to mine. It's one syllable. It sounds very similar without like PH at the beginning of it. The fact that there's several points during the movie where he's in the background just hanging, playing a Nintendo DS, not paying attention to what anybody is saying. That's totally me at a time period.
Speaking of the export, well, we're speaking earlier of the export friends and how freaking great some of these guys are. What about was it Sata Baba as Matthew Patel? He was the first one we see. He's like he's doing like the Bollywood singing and dancing out of nowhere as well. Like what is going on, dude? It's so good. I love this guy. He's really awesome.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Yeah, I didn't say that much about Steven Stills, but he is such a great he's such a great lead singer.
He is, yeah.
I love that he also, um, if you pay attention to like some of the similarities to the other movies, like did you catch the shirt he's wearing when they first do their when they first come in,
Mm.
and he's also nervous about the band, and he's like, "Hey man, we need a groupie. We need somebody that's gonna geek out for us," and like, cause they, like they look like they have no fans. So, um, but yeah, have you noticed like throughout the movie that he kind of wears shirts kind of like Jonah does in Superbad?
Oh, I did not. I never put that together, no.
Look at the shirt that he's wearing at the end in the final boss battle, and he's wearing this black shirt that is very similar to the shirt that Jonah wears in Superbad.
Oh, nice. I
Uh,
see. Yeah, I'm back at the beginning now for when he's telling her that he wants her to geek out over him and that he's wearing a green shirt.
yeah, it's like a plaid shirt, but it also has kind of like that same like kind of country music singer vibe to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Um, he wears all of his wardrobe throughout the movie, or is kind of similar to that. But yeah, Matthew Patel is great. Again, their fight is like that's the divide in this movie where it goes from just being a rom com into this being a genre slash comic book movie. Um, we don't see a lot of him in this movie, but he's just so great at being over the top. He does the big poses, and he very much talks like a comic book villain. He's perfect.
Yeah, man. He sets the tone. I'm glad he was the first one out the gate because, like, Chris Evans is fantastic. He's the second one, right? But like, it's pretty cool that Patel was the first one. I think it sets the tone.
Yeah, his whole Bollywood number is hilarious. Um, I love by the end of it one of my favorite lines from the movie of when he beats one exes is that doesn't even rhyme. Throws
Yeah.
them let him. What does he say to him when he's like when he's getting ready to die? He's like, "How can this be?" or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "How can this be?" And this guy's like, "Open your eyes and you will see."
Yeah. Oh, so weird. Such a weird thing.
Yeah, no, he does that a few times with the exes where he tries to come back with like this action movie, like come back to what they're saying. Like when when he kills Brendan Routh's character and he's like, "You once were a vegan, now you were be gone,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "Vegan?"
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
man. Yeah,
I'm
and plus Patel's got the zombie girls dancing with him. The
yeah,
demon girls. Yeah.
telling you on the pulse of the culture at that time. Everything about the way that he dresses, the fact that they were calling him a hipster, the way he has his polo under his jacket propped up,
Yeah, yeah.
all very much that time period.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Kind of looks like somebody out of the Breakfast Club in the 80s.
Yeah, you could just see the style connection to that time period in 2000.
Yeah. So the guy that's the head of the league, what's he call it? The League of Ex-Boyfriends?
Yeah, League of Evil X Men. I mean,
Evil.
yeah, a
Yeah,
League of Evil Ex Boyfriends.
that's it. Jason Schwartzman, who even when he was 20, looked like he was 40. It's his mannerisms, dude. He's always seemed to me to be like an old soul. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
Schwartzman today is only 43. But
Hmm.
like if you look at him today and compare him to then, like it's the same guy. It's the same guy. Hey, Tom Clark here for Tom Clark's Main Event. And if you are not subscribed, you're doing life wrong. Going strong since 2014 with over 300 episodes and a variety of guests that include Randy Orton, The Big Show, Rob Van Dam, and a lot more. Check us out on all the major platforms, including YouTube at Boink Studios. Subscribe today, Tom Clark's Main Event. Yeah, he just seems to be an old soul. He plays this so straight laced. He never winks at the camera ever, and it's just utterly ridiculous. But like first it's you don't know if he's a good guy or if he's a bad guy. You can't really tell because he's very nice to Scott, which is very odd. But of course he ends up being like the biggest boss here. Jason Schwartzman, who again we didn't see a lot of him in this movie. What do you think about him as Gideon?
um, he's such a perfect analog of the annoying passive aggressive ex boyfriend, as well as like passive aggressive studio exec that all these guys are trying to get through. Um, but again, he's just still like the final boss of this movie. If you compare it to the analog that I said earlier about how all these other guys are like stars from these big blockbuster films or they're these other genres. Um, he's like this big final guy that you have to get this movie past to get it seen by the public. He's this guy that's like, no, I'm the guy that knows what's cool. I know what's profitable. I know what's selling.
Right.
He even says that. He even says it in the movie.
And it turns out he had like a chip in the back of her neck this whole time.
Yeah, but he's he's so great at doing just the kind of whatever. Yeah, sure. Who's this guy?
Oh man.
I love how he calls knives kung pao chicken. He's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, you kung pao chicken. Nobody's talking to you.
There's a
Or
couple things in this movie that you bump into in 2023, maybe. That's probably one of them.
yeah, yeah. There are a few things that are kind of a little problematic, but yeah, just there's so many things that he adds to this movie. It's just like he's a perfect main bad guy because he's the complete antithesis to what Scott is. Like he's so sure he has it all figured out. He's so sure that he's cool. He's an older guy. Um, yeah, he's he's great. Uh, just the way he chews gum, the way he gets upset
Right.
when he swallows the gum.
So here's something fun. The original ending of this movie had Gideon turning into a robot.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it was scrapped. I would like to see. And listen, the bigger the robot, the better. I mean, massive. That might have been fun. True anime style.
Yeah. I love that the first inkling we get that she is under mind control is when he's in the car and she gets in the car with him and in the background Under My Thumb is playing.
Yes. Well done. Yeah. Here's something good about that. Going back to the Lucas Lee stunt doubles, you're not going to believe this. The Lucas Lee stunt doubles are actual stunt performers who double for Chris Evans. Now it can't be all of them because a couple of those dudes are pretty short. Like I think a couple of them are fat, so that's not happening.
But that's not bad. I like that actually. Let's see. So all of the Sex Bob songs in the movie written by Beck.
Yes.
Beck is awesome. I'm telling you right now. Beck is Michael Cera as a musician.
Yes.
Look at him, man. Right? Just yeah. God, Beck is brilliant. It's
I
great.
believe he writes a lot of the original music for this movie. He definitely wrote the Ramona song that's in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote something else for this movie, other than the Sex Bomb stuff. But yeah, yeah. Are you kidding me? I love, again, as somebody that listens to the soundtrack regularly. Like, yeah, I love the soundtrack to this movie. I love the music in this movie. And man, if there was like some kind of fake Sex Bomb CD, I would have bought it by now.
Right. Of course. Yeah, the soundtrack's really, really good, man. For sure. Let's see what else we got here. So, man, we're not even done with this cast, but we're gonna, yeah, because man, there's still people to talk about. But that's your main core cast anyway. Let's see, Eric Knudsen. I think it's nuts. There's a K in, but I think it's Eric Knudsen as Crash. And I'm telling you, if you've ever watched TV, you know this guy's face because he's been in a lot of different stuff.
Yes,
He was in. Did you ever catch Jericho that was on CBS?
I did not.
So Jericho went from 2006 to 2008. It ran for one season, and CBS was going to cancel it. And I believe, if I have this right in my head, fans did a massive writing campaign and got CBS to change their minds. Jericho was a really good show, so they brought it back for another season and then canceled it again. And this time, it stayed canceled. But he was a character in that show. I really enjoyed that show, actually. So yeah, that is basically not the entire cast, but all the heavy hitters. Mae Whitman as Roxy Richter. She pops up and then pops up again later in the film as one
Yeah.
of Ramona's, I don't know, experimentations maybe with an ex.
Yeah, one of her exes when quote Scott says she was going through her sexy phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here just thinking again, like there's so many things about that first gig they played that is so great. Not just the Matthew Patel sighting, but that first band that plays that Wallace is heckling.
Yes, that's true.
It's so great when he's just like, "Yeah, here's our first song," and it's just basically him yelling into the mic. I'm so sad.
Oh, it's great, and it goes like 3 seconds, and then Wallace yells down at him. It's not a what does he say? It's not a race.
Yeah,
He's heckling the whole time.
heckling him the whole time, and then he's like, "Yeah, this one's dedicated to that guy that keeps screaming stuff from the stuff, and it's called 'We Hate You and Wish You Would Die.'"
Yeah. And he looks at the guy sitting. He's like, oh, that's a good one. I know that one. It's good.
Yeah, so good again, but yeah, great soundtrack. Can't say enough great things about this soundtrack.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah. Well, there you go, kids. There is basically your cast here for this movie. And let's see here. All right. So numbers. There's numbers here, of course, for the evil ex-boyfriends. And so they actually put numbers like let's see, Todd, since he's the third evil ex, has 3 stripes on his shirt with a number 3 on the back.
Right.
That's kind of a dead giveaway. Scott is not an evil ex, but so he wears a T-shirt with a 0 and drinks Coke Zero because that's his number. Well done. Yeah, I like little things like that peppered in. Isn't it Ramona that tells him that you're on your way to becoming an evil ex-boyfriend?
Yes.
Oh my God, what a great moment that was, dude.
Yes. Yeah, I think her conversation where she's basically telling him everybody has baggage and he still doesn't get it. Like, yeah, you have come into the relationship with your own baggage. You've got two ex-girlfriends that are in this movie,
Right.
in Kim and Knives. Sorry, uh, three. You count Envy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So he came into the relationship with his own baggage.
And we mentioned how young this movie is. The only two people in this movie over the age of 30 were the cops. It's a young movie, dude. No kidding.
Yeah.
Ellen Wong auditioned 3 times for the role of Knives and got the director's attention after he discovered she was a green belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah, she's great in action scenes, by the way.
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. Michael Cera could already play some bass, and those who didn't know how to play had to learn how to play for their roles, which is cool. Edgar
Yeah.
Wright wrote a letter to Nintendo for permission to use a song from The Legend of Zelda in which he called the game's music nursery rhymes to a generation.
Quite a quote. It's kind of true.
Yeah.
When I think of all of the video game music that I know by heart, that's what made it so cool when he played the song from Final Fantasy.
Yeah. And in addition to more Nintendo scenes here, the doors with the star on them that Ramona travels through are a reference to the Mario games.
Yes, there are several Mario references other than Sex Bomb throughout
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah, that's good stuff. At the point when work on the film began, only 2 of the books had been written. Because of this, some lines from the movie actually make it into later books.
That's great.
That's awesome. I mean, not for nothing, you're a creator. I mean, so am I, but imagine being Brian Lee O'Malley. And I mean, dude, your stuff's getting optioned basically the moment you're writing it.
Yeah.
That is nuts to me. He completed the first volume of Scott Pilgrim, and the publisher, Oni Press, contacted producer Mark Platt to propose a film adaptation. That quickly.
Yeah, that is cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten things like video game adaptations. We've got a lot of cool things out of that graphic novel series before anybody really knew, before it really took off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. O'Malley supposedly had mixed feelings about doing a film adaptation to begin with, saying, quote, he expected him to turn it into a full action comedy with some actor that he hated, which is what he was quoted as saying at the time. And but also he didn't even care, admitting he was a starving artist. And he was like, please just give me some money. Universal Studios contacted director Edgar Wright, who had just finished the 2004 Shaun of the Dead, and agreed to adapt the Scott Pilgrim comics. Very funny to me that none of his guys are in this movie, but to Wright's credit, he didn't want any English actors in this movie.
Yeah.
None. But Patel is actually British and grew up not far from where Wright did, and he didn't know that till after he casted him.
Um, yeah. But I mean, I feel like he picked a lot of the stuff for the movie because he wanted this very Canadian sensibility for the movie.
Yeah.
And I think there's this I mean, even when you look at just like the way Ramona is seen as exotic, and they keep saying throughout the movie she's American. Um,
Yeah.
she's from America. I think again, like that's part of the appeal of this movie. That's part of like why some of the stuff is so niche.
We haven't talked really at all about Toronto here. Like, Canada is really a character in this film, man.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said before, man, this is just a fun freaking movie. I just don't know how anyone has a problem with this. My God. It's weird to this day that I can't understand how people didn't give this film more of a chance. Supposedly there's an anime coming.
Hmm.
Yeah. That'll
That
be
makes sense.
interesting.
Um, yeah, I mean, this is one of those things that's kind of like comics, where and everything that influences movie, video games, anime, and everything, it's so very niche, and I think if you grew up on all of the things that influenced this movie, obviously it's gonna connect with you, like it connected with me. Um, but I mean, if you just don't get it, you just don't get it. It would be hard for me to explain to somebody that didn't grow up on all these things like I did why this movie is special.
Oh, for sure. And, you know, for guys like us who are into stuff like this, there's a certain number of people and certain kinds of people when they validate it, it makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. For guys like us, Kevin Smith is one of those people.
Hmm.
Kevin Smith was blown away by this when he saw a screening of it. And he said, quote, "It's spellbinding and nobody's going to understand what the F just hit them," which is a great quote. I
Yes.
love that. Oh, that's fun. So the opening credits, you know, that little montage of when the credits are rolling at the beginning, that was Quentin Tarantino's idea. How you like that?
Makes sense. I mean, I love when you go back and look at it. It has the graphics behind everybody's name, like when it
Mm,
shows Scott's name for the first time, it has the Babam behind it. When it has when Ellen Wong, it has the two um knives or the katanas that she fights with later in the movie.
yeah. And again, dude, this whole movie, regardless of all the wackadoodle stuff that's happening here, it's just about Scott becoming a better person. Because again, he's not been the best kind of guy. He cheats on one girl with another girl at the same time. So yeah, not the best guy around. He's got no self-respect whatsoever. So he has to learn all that as well.
Yeah,
So yeah, I love that this movie is just all about him becoming a good person.
yeah, it's all a coming of age story, and it's all fit in um, the confines of not just a video game, but also like this comic book movie, and it's done in such a perfect way. It's a guy that is they kind of have the world at his feet,
Mm.
fresh out of the college age, out of a bad relationship, and he can do or be anything, and that's why the line of you could end up being like one of these other evil exes easily, or like the Nega Scott that he fights later fits perfectly.
Oh, that's fun. And they don't even fight; they just hang out and talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that they do the versus screens for everybody, and then they do this big dramatic versus scene for him and Nega Scott, and then they just kind of talking like, well, he's a cool guy.
Yeah. He tells him, he said, "I'm gonna see you next week." You know, they're gonna hang out and do something next week. That's pretty good. By the way, speaking of exes, we didn't hit all the exes here. We left out the twins.
Yes. Yeah, I think all of the stuff that they managed to fit the music in with the X battles was cool. I
Mm.
think that back and forth where they are playing with the Katatami. Am I mispronouncing their last names?
I think you're close. I don't think it's cat. Is it Katayangi?
I have to see it in front of me to pronounce
Yeah.
it right. I of course not.
Katayangyi.
Katanagi.
Katanagi.
Katanagi twins. Yeah, that scene with the Katanagi twins, and
That's fun.
they're playing Threshold for the first time. So
Yeah.
fun.
So good. Oh my God. The dragons and stuff. That's Shota and Kaita Saito.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, Threshold is also one of my favorite songs on the soundtrack. I think vocals for Threshold are so great. I love the I just again big fan of this movie, big fan of the soundtrack. But yeah,
Mhm.
I the Threshold is one of my favorite movies favorite songs from the movie.
Yeah. Well, if we haven't put it over enough, kids, the soundtrack's excellent. It's really good.
Yeah, big fan of Garbage Truck as well.
Man, there's so much to like about this movie, dude. And you know, again, you and I have done quite a few things on here that are comic book films or comic book adaptations, and they're just supposed to be fun and entertaining. But you and I both will have conversations on here about, man, they screwed this up, or and it's not that we're necessarily bashing, and it's not that we're maybe taking it too seriously. Maybe we are at times. I don't know. But but like it just, I just want them to get this right. Just get it right. Just that's all I've ever asked. Just get it right. But like with this, I don't have this sense of
oh, well, they, screwed this up. No, there's nothing like that here. I just don't think this is a film you should overthink. That's not what this is. Dude, it's a weird comparison, but for me, it's like the Expendables. You don't overthink. I see this stuff, oh, well, this wouldn't happen it's what? These are action dudes who are all buff, cracking jokes and shooting up bad guys. Like, what are we talking about? Like, don't overthink this. Just enjoy it. Eat your popcorn. Shut up. That's what this movie is to me, but it's also insanely fun at the same time.
Yeah, I've softened a lot on whether I need an adaptation to be um, as close to the comic as possible. A lot
Mm.
of times I just want an enjoyable movie. And if it's an enjoyable movie or a TV show, then I'm in. I'm in for the ride. And this was one of those things coming into it not knowing anything about the book, knowing very little about the movie. I very much enjoyed the ride.
Right. You're in lesbians with this movie. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. That whole
So
exchange
weird.
between him and Wallace where he's telling him you gotta drop the L word and he's just like, lesbian? The other one, lesbians?
And he tells her the same thing later. He's making this nice speech about how he doesn't care about her past. None of that makes any difference to him. And then he tells her, I'm in lesbians with you. She says, what? He says, I really, really mean it. What?
Yeah, he's so great. The way that he stumbles through all these things, and I mean, even when you look at the way that the final fight is handled, is just so great. The him going in and going whatever when they ask him for the password,
Yeah. Oh my
he's just
God.
like he basically just goes through all of these things, and he ends up dying, and then he remember he has the one up from earlier in the movie, which genius, by the way.
It is.
Um, Genius him using the one up to go back and redo everything, and he's learned the lesson now from everything he's done. Which again, if you're a video game player, like this all speaks to you. Like getting to the final boss and having to put another quarter in, it all speaks to you. So he gets in, he comes back in, and he is now self assured. And before he has this big declaration about how much he loves Ramona, and that's what he's fighting for. And then he comes back and he's like, "No, I'm fighting for me." It's such a good scene.
Yeah, that was really good. By the way, other Scott, we never mentioned the actor Ben Lewis. There's his name. There you go. Like I said, man, this is just a fun flick. Um, I don't know if I would call this a coming of age film. Does that make any sense to you? It's kind of it's almost like this would be the movie after the coming of age movie.
I think it is a coming of age movie because I think that for that time period, for a lot of people, I think there's this idea that a lot of people fresh out of college have it figured out,
Mhm.
and most of us don't. And there's a lot of people that somebody in your friend group that you know, everybody else is moving on with their life, and that's what Wallace represents. That's what his sister represents. She's already got a job and she's moving forward, even though
Mhm.
she's younger than him. Um, all these other people are kind of like moving forward, and he's the same person that's stuck in the same place that's still talking about video games, that's still trying
Right.
to play music, and still, wearing the clothes he wore in college, and he hasn't moved on. He hasn't grown up, and so I do think it is a coming of age thing. He's this guy that needs to move forward, and he hasn't figured that out until the end of the movie.
So true. Yeah. A lot of good stuff to jump into here, man. This is such a fun film. Uh, I still believe there's something else to be done here, and I don't know what I'm talking about in terms of this cast is all older now, so probably none of this would make sense for a sequel. I'm not going to say it couldn't happen; anything could happen, but I don't know if anyone even cares about doing anything like that with this IP anymore. I have no idea. I do. I am intrigued by the idea of anime. I think that would be very cool to watch.
Yeah, I think it's an easy way to adapt this to something else, but I don't know if you need another sequel. Like, and just kind of leave it. You don't really need to retouch it.
Sure, yeah. The cool thing is that there's a lot of entertaining stuff here that got good reviews. It just didn't work at the box office. But the fact that there's a good story here and it's a fun popcorn movie, and again, the fans liked it and the critics liked it, especially,
Hmm.
and other creative types enjoyed it, kind of tells me that there might be something still left to do something with here. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it'd be worth
a sequel or a revamp. I don't know if I could see a revamp at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but see, I feel like the movie is so meta in a lot of ways, and that the movie represents a movie that wouldn't do well.
Mm.
Because I mean, everything about it is like, no, this is this guy that is, of course, been in a bunch of hits, but he's like this leading man that's inexplicably a leading man. Um, and he's like leading this ensemble cast of other people that have done a bunch of comedy, and they're always the other supporting characters. They're always a side character, never a leading character. I mean,
Right.
when you think about how long Macaulay Culkin's brother was in Hollywood before he did something that was this recognizable to a lot of fans,
Yeah.
I feel like that speaks to a lot of what this movie is. And it's one of those movies that it somehow got greenlit and got past people. And yeah, of course, it didn't do well because it's one of those things that some niche guy that made this movie based off of these things that he loves and he hopes speaks to other people because they love these things too. But like, mass populace was never going to love this movie as much as we were.
That's very true. Yeah, very true. Yeah. He was Fuller in Home Alone,
Yes.
which is fun. Home Alone's in the archives, kids. Go check it out. I think and I don't honestly at the time I don't know if I knew that was him. I'm trying to think of what all he has done, but his his uh, his filmography is interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, but that's why I'm like, he's been around for that long. But when I really think about his career, I feel like this is a breakout role for him.
Yeah, he looks great. He's funny. It's really good stuff here.
Yeah, I believe this is Anna Kendrick before all of the Pitch Perfect movies. This was before she blew up and started doing all these things. There's a movie with music in it, and Anna Kendrick does no singing. Think about that 10 years later.
Right, good call. Yeah. As I said before at the beginning of this, man, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and like, I'm gonna have to start including this in the movies I regularly watch because, yeah, I really enjoyed this actually, and it just goes to show you that at the time when it came out, I think I just watched it and walked away from it and never went back to it. And I mean, enough time has passed for me now that I can really thoroughly enjoy this and get a kick out of it. And now I want to go back and watch it again. Well, there you have it, kids. There is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. We could talk a lot more about this film, Phil. I'm sure. I know I could. I'm sure you can. That, in a nutshell, is the movie, kids. Phil, what do you think about this? If it's possible, try to sum this up for me and give me your last word. And also, is this a top 10 movie for you personally?
It might be in my top 10. It's an all time favorite. I think it's just one of those movies that just speaks to a lot of us that are like a lot of the guys that grew up from the 80s on into 2000 and was trying to figure out where you belong in a world full of adults that does not still think of these things regularly. Um, it's just like this is like your Christmas morning. It is. It's like waking up and seeing like, wait, there's somebody else in the world that is not is still like obsessed with all these things that I love and has managed to ball them all up into this movie and make sense out of it.
Yeah, that's well said. That's why entertainment works so well. That's why music works so well. That's why, we're such an entertainment culture now, man, thanks to streamers. We really are. Like there's so much of it to be had, but a lot of it, like you said, it's this idea of connecting back to things and understanding there's people out in the world who, you know, look and sound like you and go through the same kind of stuff and their mindset's similar and they like the same kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, there was this time period where um it just seems like it was so far away, but it was considered like, I don't know, it was just considered weird to like all of these things. And at some point I came way after the fact that I was a kid, but in my 20s I realized, no, we won. And this was one of those movies where I was like, we won. We won this war of the culture, and now everybody else wants to get on the bandwagon of things that we loved because they missed it.
100%. Dude, the geek have inherited the earth.
Yes, it absolutely happened. And I feel like
Jeez.
now it definitely happened around like the early 2000s up where it became cool to like all of these things in their culture.
It's the truth. We got the coolest movies. We got the coolest music. We got the coolest TV shows. It all belongs to us now. 100%. I'm definitely on board with that. Spoken like a true nerd. Hey, look, I don't run from it. I've changed, I've matured, but I'm still, I still love stuff like this, man. It's cool. Well, there you have it, kids. There's the film. Hope you dug it. Hope you dug the show. Go back and check it out if you haven't watched in a while. This episode should have you pining to watch it again. So go check it out. And if you've never watched it, we just spoiled the life out of it for you, but it's okay. You'll still enjoy it, I promise you. Go watch. We won't tell you who Scott ends up with. I said we were going to circle back to that, but I'm not going to do it. I'll leave it up to audience interpretation and what they think, if they liked it or not. So I'll tell you that the ending that you get is not the ending that was written. The person he ends up with is not the person that he ends up with in the original story of the movie. So there you go. Take from that what you will and enjoy. And that is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.